Welcome in, guys. This will be our first podcast, and of course, the first podcast episode gets started off with my 6-year-old screaming in the middle of the night. So let's see if this podcast goes like that. This called On a Family Basis. We are 4 cousins, and we're just going to talk about baseball, and we're going to talk and have some laughs about growing up together. So, my name is Jake.
I'm Ben. I just have a quick question, Dale, before you jump in. Dan, are you eating potato chips?
No, I'm not. But that's a good question.
Okay.
You're right. Let's continue.
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
It's fair.
I am Dallas, or Dal.
And as just established, I am Dan, and I am not eating potato chips.
I don't know.
Jake saw it. He heard it too. I heard the crunch.
A little bit.
It was a bag.
Right.
It was cellophane, not a bag. Sorry.
All right, cool. Either way. So again, this will be a weekly baseball podcast where we just get together and take a lap around the bases, talk about current events, and then also some topics that maybe need some further discussion. So we'll just jump right into news. What we'll do first is we'll just start off every episode by talking about what did we watch this past week in sports. Could be sporting games or documentaries or just stuff on TV. But what did you guys watch this past week in sports?
Bowl mania, baby.
Which ones?
As many as I can. I don't remember exactly all of them, but I caught part of the
it's
2
hard
semifinal
to-
games.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have to imagine it's hard to or having a kid. It's hard to just sit and watch a full game start to finish.
It's
So
virtually
you
impossible.
probably caught 10 quarters of different games. You know what I mean? Collectively.
Fully accurate.
So yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
No, Ben, not quarters. You mean like minutes of games. And that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Plays, 10 plays out of
then,
each game.
you get a
Yeah.
5-year-old who walks in and goes, all you watch is boring stuff. When can I watch my show?
Yep.
And then that's
Bro,
over.
if you only know how bad your little dinosaur show is, I want to hear it.
Just record them
But,
watching it and then show them what they watched 10 years from now.
I watched some of the semifinal games. Really wish Michigan would have showed up.
They did not.
I really expected, and I really felt bad for Cincinnati, Drew. I honestly, my thoughts on the whole BCS, it is so frustrating because there's no reason Bama jumped from 4-1 with the
that's just like
win
Alabama,
over Georgia.
That's Alabama favoritism, though.
That's ridiculous. And then you give Cincinnati Bama. It's trash.
Of course it is, but the SEC runs the NCAA right now. NCAA football is ran by the SEC.
You might as well call
And
it
the championship game is 2 more
football.
SEC teams.
I mean, you might as well, but except I don't know. I was just talking with Jake about this the other day, like how players are starting to get paid, like monetary consumption. I feel like that's going to legitimately change it's going to level a little bit of the playing field. I really do. I do believe that Alabama is favored by the critics, 100%, but they've also been the most winningest team in recent memory. So it's hard
to argue when they're just going to win every year anyway.
Besides college football, and I think we'll talk about, Chicago sports later on. Did you guys watch anything else besides some recent bowl games? Or was that pretty much about it?
No, I watched a lot of football on Sunday for fantasy-related purposes. No, Hester and I just had a really chill weekend. Like Friday and Saturday, we were both off, so we didn't go up north because of COVID. So we didn't want to be around for New Year's or anything like that. So we just decided to hang out. And then Sunday I had work, but I can watch my little TV. I watched a little bit of that introspective on Madden after he passed and everything that was said about him. And it truly is weird how the name Madden, it stopped meaning about a man and just meant a football video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird. Like you just say 2K, and you instantly know you're talking about basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's cool. Like Madden became like bigger than what he was, which was still a humongous, icon.
Yeah. The only thing I actually watch it, and maybe this is recent memory, of course, but tonight we're recording on Monday night. Tonight they were showing the Game 6 and Game 7 of the 2001 World Series, and that's the Diamondbacks and Yankees. I watched Game 7 when Luis Gonzalez walked off. And the Diamondbacks won the World Series. So
Good spoiler
that's
alert.
I mean, you're literally
20
years
later.
20 years.
You
20 years
ruined
later.
it.
I just woke up out of a 20-year coma. Don't
My
tell me
cable
who won the
service
World
is on a
Series.
20-year delay, kind of like the USSR.
Yeah, it's like AOL.
Yes.
I still have dial-up internet, guys.
The only two pieces of news that really came out in the past week or so about baseball, in particular, are the first topic we'll talk about, but I'll mention them now. Is that the AP News named Shohei Otani their AP Male Athlete of the Year, and then also the Seattle Mariners third baseman Kyle Seager retired. And that is what our first topic will be, is Shohei and Seager. And we'll start off with talking about Shohei because I think it's kind of the easiest because of his last year. This past year was the year of Shohei Otani. And I sent you guys that article about just talking about him in the year he had. But let me just start off with this kind of question, is that realistically, in the best way you can maybe explain this is someone who doesn't play baseball, or some family member who has no reference. How hard is it to pitch and hit at the elite level? How hard is it?
If I had to guess, I would say it would be like being the top brain surgeon in the world while also being the best lawyer in the world.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah, you're magnificent at two very specialized, very difficult things to do.
Yeah,
and you're and you're at the top or one of the best at it. I think that's pretty difficult. I think that's pretty neat.
None of us played college baseball, but we all kind of played baseball growing up together. But I mean, usually you favor one over the other. And I think the difficulty of being able to pitch, even in high school, being able to pitch and start and dominate, but then also come up and hit a home run. That's hard when you're a teenager, let alone a 27-year-old playing against the best in the world.
But then again, like also being taken out of the pitching position and then being put in the outfield.
And knowing that you're not missing anything. Yeah. Knowing that you're not like losing a fielder. You know what I mean?
It's just that's a true, like, I don't know a better word to use it. Like, it's a true utility player. That is the utility player. Like, the man can pitch and play a position and still bat. Like, that's the ultimate weapon.
Dude, imagine if you were a pitcher and a catcher. That'd be wild.
I've actually I read on the Bleacher Report that he's working on his speed so he can pitch to himself. It's nuts.
All right.
I can just imagine the first at bat that he just gets cracked in the ribs. He's running and he just he's down. Like this was a failed
experiment's over.
So, and this kind of leads into the second question, but a snippet or an excerpt from the AP article. It says this. It says, He is an everyday two-way player that for many decades, and nobody's has been both one of baseball's top power hitters and one of the best pitchers since Babe Ruth. Talks about him on the Red Sox in 1919. But the question I had was, is Shohei Otani our generation the modern Babe Ruth, or is he a totally different kind of athlete?
Well, the game is different.
How so?
In every way. Baseball is entirely different than it was back in 1919 than it is now. And I think it's too early and unfair to give him that title after. Granted, don't get me wrong, the guy is phenomenal and he's an amazing athlete to itself. But Babe Ruth did that for years, where he would pitch and play the outfield and hit tremendously for years. So I think Shohei could be the next, to Babe Ruth style caliber player. But I'm just not ready to give that title up after seeing him do it for one season. Granted, there's more teams. The world is different. You have people playing from all over the world now, where Babe Ruth didn't play guys from all over the world.
Right.
Babe Ruth didn't
there was
play.
like 2 world wars since Babe Ruth played.
Right. So the entire world in the game of baseball is entirely different now than it was then. You can't. You can't compare. You really can't justify one by comparing it to the other. Do I think Shohei Otani could be?
Go ahead.
Yes. No, I'm just going to finish. Do I think Shohei could be? Yes, he could be. But I need to see more of a sample size than a season. But I thoroughly believe Shohei is an amazing athlete and it very well could be the next coming of a player to have that type of caliber.
No, I was just going to say, actually, I really was going to come out with a strong argument for Otani, but I'm going to side with Dan on here, the Danimal, and say the sample size just isn't large enough.
Right.
And also, looking at some of the RBI, he's a pitcher. I mean, if we're gonna classify him as a pitcher, it's pretty remarkable what he's done for a pitcher. But you put his batting stats up next to an actual hitter. It's okay. It's good. It's still good, but it's not record-breaking.
Yeah, Ben, what do you think?
So I agree with what they're saying, but here's my point.
But
it's only unfair to Shohei because we're comparing him to Babe Ruth, right? So that, again, that means a little bit more than just... No. Because, Dan, Babe Ruth isn't just the last great hitter-pitcher, which he happens to be. He's also one of the 3 greatest players in the sport, period. So it's impossible to compare him to him. That, you
That's
could
what
say,
I'm saying. It's
Mike
unfair.
Trout great compared to a Willie Mays, or is he great compared to the all-timers? Yeah, of course. But is he also Shohei?
Is he great compared to Darryl
level
Strawberry?
of Babe Ruth. What?
I said, is he great compared to Darryl Strawberry?
Probably does less drugs.
I
say probably because I don't know and I don't want to cast aspersions.
But since this is a discussion for the era, it's per era, right? Babe Ruth. Some folks would say, yeah, Babe Ruth was great back in his day, but would he be able to compete nowadays? And I think that's an unfair comparison. Obviously, just because the caliber of player that he was playing against is the standard of what he was playing against. Much like the players today, it's just what people have evolved to play against. So I mean, it's apples and oranges as far as trying to cherry pick Like, oh, you can't just claim the argument that Ruth isn't as good of a player because he played back, in his day. It's just apples and oranges. Like, I'm sorry that he played against people, or like the mound was a little different, the ball was a little different, the bats different. Like the athleticism. I mean, if you guys have seen a video of Ruth's workout, it's good. The man was drinking and smoking while playing. Like,
and his workout was just like hitting the stomach with like a Donkey Kong barrel or something. Like, what is
it's
this?
just different,
right? But that leads perfectly into my point, which is a lot of people who are naysayers of Babe Ruth, like these modern people, and a lot of it is just trolling on the internet or whatever, saying like he sucked at baseball, right? But that's assuming that he wouldn't, if he was magically brought into today's baseball.
But
that's assuming he wouldn't smoke in the dugout and drink and eat 50 hot dogs a day and do whatever. He would have the same technology that hitters have now, plus his natural ability.
Yeah. Right. I think that's what gets taken away.
It's ludicrous to assume that he wouldn't be great if we transported him here. But we can say, like, if we brought Shohei back into 1920, it sucks, but he wouldn't even be allowed to play. So that's what I'm saying.
Well,
his ability to be able to be shown.
If we're gonna get into the nitty gritty, yes, that's true.
That's what I was saying. It was like it's a whole different world that Babe Ruth played baseball in. People from Mexico, from the Dominican, like anybody of non-white descent, wasn't allowed to play baseball.
It is also unfair to, and this isn't just like the current debate, but it's unfair to other players, modern players, to not say that they are as good as or better than Babe Ruth just because they played at separate times. Like, I feel like baseball is one of the more, well, maybe not anymore, but it is one of the nostalgic sports where like you can't really like talking about the past or all the superstitions. It's like a little bit of taboo to bash the past, but it's like, Babe Ruth probably had a lot of flaws as a person, but also might not be the best anymore.
The one thing I will say is that I do think it's a little premature to ever call someone the next anything. You can go across sports with talking about LeBron being the next Jordan. They're different players, different times, all that stuff. That's for sure. But I will say this. He had statistically maybe the best overall season ever, even compared to Babe Ruth. Statistically, both areas, hitting and pitching, even in Babe Ruth's best of both, he had the best season maybe ever. That doesn't mean he is Babe Ruth or better or anything like that, but I do believe it's well, for one thing,
Shohei is overall hitting. He had 46 home runs. Didn't he lead MLB in home runs this year?
Third.
For a time he did.
So he finished third in home runs at 46. He was top 15 in RBIs with 100. I think he had 100 even.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He also batted under 260.
Yeah.
I don't look at those as top. They're great numbers. Like, his batting average is subpar in my opinion.
Well, Jake's coming from an analytics standpoint.
Yeah, so when you
Jake's leaning more on.
He also led the league in triples, and he had 26 stolen bases. He scored 103 runs. Those are numbers reserved for top of the order, like super, super quick players. And his ability to lead in triples, be third in home runs, yes. In this era, having a lower average is okay as long as you are producing certain numbers. But all I'm saying is that with that, plus his over 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and his 9-2 record, with maybe, and I say this, maybe the best off-speed pitch in baseball with that splitter, being unhittable at times. Those two things, being able to hit and pitch at elite levels, top of the league levels, I think even Babe Ruth's numbers don't match. But I'm not saying he is Babe Ruth or better or anything like that, but maybe one of the best seasons ever. Easily the best overall season we've seen, I think.
All right, can I ask this real quick, Phil? Dallas, in your opinion, who wins in a fist fight, Shohei Otani or Babe Ruth?
Neither. The Danimal was there.
That's fact. That's fact. If I'm in the room, they're both losing.
He ate all the hot dogs before.
If I'm in the room, they're both
Babe Ruth
losing.
was famished. Wasn't
Dan
able
said,
to eat.
sorry, those hot dogs are my hot dogs.
Now he has nothing to fall back on. And Shohei wins because he just kicks him in the head once.
And then Dan hits him on his pancake booty, walks out the dugout, hits a home run. Sorry, taking the rounds.
In a very clumsy transition, let's move on from talking about Shohei Otani's 2021 season to a relatively unknown to most of even baseball fans. Kyle Seager, the third baseman for the Mariners, retired. First of all, did you guys know much about him?
Absolutely.
Well, you did.
Yeah.
Did you guys? Did Ben
I did.
Dal, did you guys know him?
I did from the show.
Barely.
And I'll admit, a lot of my knowledge came from
it's not
shows,
like
from video games.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's not like I watch a lot of Mariners games.
No.
So,
you guys don't?
But yeah, I know watching with him in the show and stuff.
Okay. So, again, he had an 11-year career, which is relatively short. But also, I mean, for average is longer than average. But for someone who stayed with the team for 11 years, he stayed with one team in Seattle. He never made the playoffs. His best season, as far as home runs, RBIs, and overall OPS, was last season. But he had only a 212 average and only a little bit above 300 on base percentage. So really, last year was in some ways his best year, and in some ways he struggled. The question I would have really about Kyle Seager, you guys read the article I sent from the Seattle Times, the conversation about staying in one place for your career versus the mobility that we're seeing in all sports, really. And free agency is the easiest way to see that. What is your opinion on staying in one place versus player mobility?
I mean, it's personal preference. There's no right. There's not going to be a right or wrong answer here.
That's not true, Dan.
All right, so
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it's personal preference, man. Like,
no, there's always a right answer, Dan.
I'm pretty sure Dallas is messing with you.
This is subjective. So Dan, what is your view on staying in one place versus mobility?
I don't have a view. I mean, like,
yes, you do.
I don't. Like, I would leave myself open to re-signing with a team, as well as I would try to keep my options open for anybody who wanted to sign a player.
There's the opinion then, Danimal.
No, it's not. My opinion is that I don't lean one way or the other. I'm not opposed to guys.
Teams. He loves having 3 stars on a basketball team. He just loves it all. Everybody sign where all the money goes. All right.
Yeah, I mean, clearly you got to chase that dollar.
Ben, what do you think?
Do you guys know who Kurt Flood is?
I need you to speak up, use your big boy chest, and say it again.
So do you know who Kurt Flood is?
Yes.
Do tell.
I can't hear
This is your point.
What do you? Yeah, you ask us a person now.
You make a point. Don't ask us to prove your point.
To tell who he is.
Anyways, yeah. So he's basically the guy who fought for free agency in baseball, and he pretty much lost his career because of it, because no team would sign him after it happened. So, because that man was willing to do that for his career, and he was a good player, above average player, way above average player, could have been a Hall of Famer probably. Because he was willing to do that for his career, I have to support all player movement, and wherever you can get the most money to better yourself, better your family, go for it. And I don't really care about billionaire owners in any sport. So I'm pro player in all instances, in everything. So I want them to go wherever. Go to the moon. I don't care. If they're willing to give you money, go wherever. Go wherever anybody's willing to pay you money to do something.
Yeah, so on that point, Ben, actually, he was my dad's favorite player at that time. And when he was not able to really sign, he was devastated. He told me just recently that when he was fighting for free agency, that in very quick succession, my dad's mind was changed, and from wanting your player to stay, especially if it's Hall of Fame player, wanting them to stay forever, if you're so lucky to draft one. But the mindset of the owners having ownership of a player's career, and they have no control over if they have a good team around them, and what they actually want. And so the first season that free agency came into play was 77. And that's when you saw mayhem go across baseball. And that's when you saw Richie Jackson signed to the Yankees, and the Angels signed like 20, or not 20, like 5 really good players. But that's also why you see this frenzy, this free agency frenzy, this off season. But with that being said, the one question I have that pertains to that free agency nowadays is for the Mariners. Now, with free agency being on hold because of the lockout, which we didn't even mention, but there is no future meeting for the MLBPA and the MLB to sit down and talk more. So this lockout could go really as long as they so choose. But with that being said, with the Mariners now not having a third baseman, a productive third baseman, who should the Mariners go after if we're talking about free agency? Who's out there that the Mariners should target?
I don't have a specific name, but my plan would be look at your team and realize, or think about how far you are from the playoffs. Like, how close are you? The Angels have gotten better. The Astros are losing Correa, but they brought back Verlander, so they're still going to be probably favorites in the West. The A's are always the A's. You never really know. They're going to hover around 80 to 90 wins, somewhere in there, right? So realistically, if you're the Mariners, you're coming in dead last anyway. So the question is, do we have any minor league talent that's worth checking on halfway through the year? So can we find a stopgap third baseman? Can we find a guy that we only need to pay like $1.5 million to? That's going to be our opening day third baseman, who's going to play for a couple months until we have a new guy to call up? Or are you going all in? Are you saying we're going to throw $100 million at Chris Bryant, or we're going to throw whatever to whoever? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of the question that you would ask yourself. And I think, me personally, I think the Mariners are closer to being dead last than being close to making the playoffs. So I think saving the money and going a stopgap third baseman would be my go-to. That would be my pick.
The one thing I would say to that is, well, two things. Is that their first thing is they only out of the playoffs. They only were down 2 games.
I think Yeah, I think
They're
you're sleeping
close.
on how actually close Seattle is, because Seattle is significantly a better ball team than like Texas.
And the
I
second,
did forget about the Rangers. Yeah, they suck.
this
You're right.
the second point I was about to make was they signed Robbie Ray, the reigning Cy Young winner, and they also traded for Adam Frazier, a second baseman. So they really only have one or two spots that really need like a star.
And Ben, you said right away Chris Bryant. And Chris Bryant's name's already been tied to Seattle as far as a target from their free agency. I think Seattle is a lot closer to making a significant run at the NL West, if not a wild card.
They might win the NL West, but they're sure not winning the AL West, Poppy.
I think they're a lot closer than you are clearly giving them credit for.
Dude, the Rangers got better too, though. The Rangers got Seager and Marcus Semien.
Yeah, but they're not going to make that big of a jump. They won 60 games last year. They're not
bad. They still have nobody to pitch the ball.
I think the Mariners are. I'm just saying. I think Robbie Ray had a great season, but I don't think
Robbie Ray's gotten significantly better year and year.
What I'm saying is, I don't think he's going to be this good next year. It's going to be like an R.A. Dickey situation where he just pops up, he wins the Cy Young, and then he just goes away.
No.
Okay.
That's fine, but I think you're not giving them enough credit, because I think Seattle's they're a lot closer to competing for the AL West than you think they are.
Yeah, but so Dan, if they are close, who is that player? Would you say it's a Chris Bryant, high money player, ability player to save some money? Well, what would you do?
I mean, if Bryant's willing, you got to take a chance, right?
I would think so.
I mean, hell, being a Sox fan, if Bryant's willing, I want Bryant in Chicago.
I'm pretty sure not all major league teams would somehow, if he was willing to go there, they would take him. What are you saying?
But you also got to think, I don't think Chris Bryant's also looking to just get paid. I think Chris Bryant wants to compete for several years.
I'm coming home.
Well, he's from Vegas, so he's not going home.
Yeah.
He's playing for the Raiders this week.
All right. So, but for Chris Bryant, the idea for Chris Bryant,
I mean, he's got to be your top. He's got to be a top target, right? As your third base / left fielder, utility outfielder, center fielder, right?
But you would have to pay a player like Chris Bryant $20-25 million a year, and the one problem is that the Seattle Mariners turned down Kyle Seager's option for $20 million for this next year. So, are they willing to make a commitment for that amount every year for the next, let's say, 6 years? Or
they might be, because Seager's older.
He's 34 and Chris Bryant is 30.
So it is hilarious to me that he just retired at 34 years old. Dan, this in the red shirt right down there is older than Kyle Seager, who just retired, sitting on how many more million than all of us combined. Yeesh.
I mean, his brother is getting paid bank in Texas, so
okay. So if you take Bryant out of the picture, I don't think Chris Bryant's going to go to Seattle. Granted, his name's been tied to Seattle already a little bit with trade rumors. With free agent signings, but I don't think Chris Bryant's going to Seattle. Your other top next four at third base alone, because you got to replace Kyle Seager.
Okay.
Kyle Seager only made one All-Star game in 11 years.
Yeah, right. Sure.
So it's not. He was a great player for Seattle. He wasn't a great player all around. He had a very good MLB career, but that's the extent of Kyle Seager's career. So you're looking at then a Jonathan VR.
Yeah,
I think is a better fit for probably Seattle than Chris Bryant.
And
you got guys like Matt Duffy. He's 31, but he's He's 31, but he's more of a plug and play guy to get you to somebody you got coming up. Matt Duffy is not going to be your next 5-year third baseman.
Yeah, true. Well,
You got,
as far as I'm aware, the Mariners do have some prospects coming up, but either way, so keep going, Dan. Sorry.
No, I'm saying you got guys like Hanser Alberto from Kansas City.
Yep.
29. Maikel Franco from the Phillies, 29.
Yeah.
You have other guys that you could fill and put into that spot to get you through. And I think that's the way Seattle's going to probably go. I think they're going to probably go after someone like a Jonathan VR or a Maikel Franco to bridge the gap. I mean, you have guys like Castro is listed as a third baseman. You got, the ageless Starlin.
Oh,
you got guys like the ageless wonder as Jubal Cabrera. I think that's more the route Seattle's going to have to try to go.
But should they? Should they go big or should they play safe?
I don't think they have the team to go big. I don't think they have enough firepower on either with the bats or the mound to.
You were just saying I was crazy for saying the Mariners.
No, I said you don't give them enough credit for being as close to a contention team. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series.
Yeah,
I would hope not.
That's the difference. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series, but I don't think they're a team that's going to make the big enough splash.
I think we can agree that
I'm right.
If the Mariners want to spend money and want a long-term fit, Chris Bryant, it has to be at the top of your list. But if it's not, it's got to be a stopgap. And I'm not sure what they want to do, but speaking as a Cubs fan, I would say Chris Bryant is a pretty good option. And, again, his utility across different positions, I think, is very underrated. It's going to hurt his numbers, like his WAR, but it's going to be very valuable to any team. I think if the Mariners believe that they can't catch the Astros, but if they want to get a wild card spot, they have to get Chris Bryant. But if they're willing to maybe wait a year or so, they can get someone as a stopgap. We spent quite a bit talking about the first section, but let's move on to the second one, which is more about Ben brought this up, was talking about who is the one player in baseball right now that you would want to start your team with. Is it Shohei Otani or is it someone else?
Dal, you want to go first?
I'd still go with Albert Pujols. Easily. Obviously.
Like, are we talking like 47-year-old Albert Pujols right now, or like 19-year-old Albert Pujols from 2000?
I do.
And
like
Albert
the one
Pujols hasn't been 19 years old
even
since
10 years ago.
1954.
10 years ago. Not the one right now.
68 years old.
I would pick the Albert Pujols right now to be like a batting coach.
No, I would pick realistically. Dal, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go.
Please.
Give you some time to think. I would take Juan Soto.
I agree.
He's like 18 and a half years old.
23, by the way.
I think he's got prom next weekend. And he's been in the league for 5 years already. And he's insane. I mean, the stats are, through the roof for this guy. Literally nothing's going to stop him from being a Hall of Famer. I think he is on a very fast track to being considered probably one of the best of all time. I really believe that. Because he's already accomplished so much at such a young age. He's already got the World Series knocked out. If he never wins another one, that puts him above Like Bonds never won a World Series. Griffey never won a World Series. Tony Gwynn never won a World Series. I mean, all of these guys, you can line them up. What'd you say?
Yeah. That's fine. It's fine, Ben. I agree. I
Sammy
think it
Sosa
should.
never won a World Series.
Well, I mean that's different. But I would say Juan Soto. He has 23 of his 3 full seasons in the pros. There was 2020, which isn't a real season for the most part. His 3 full seasons, he has been in the. He's won Rookie of the Year, and he's also been in the MVP top 10 of the MVP, which at 23 years old is a good place to start. I wouldn't go with someone like Tatis. He's injury prone, his
And
shoulder,
he makes
and
a
he also
million errors.
right. But I would say Juan Soto for his overall production, but also his off the field. He never is going to have, as far as we know, any off the field issues. So I like Juan Soto. Dan, who do you think? Who would you start a team with?
No, my pick was also 100% Juan Soto.
Dude, for some reason I thought you were gonna say Hunter Pence.
Yes.
What?
If
What
you're
are we
not
talking
starting,
about?
if you're not
It
starting,
is
this your team.
100% Hunter Pence.
He's on a different podcast, so let's not pick him. But either way, so
I hope he hears this then.
yeah. But
That would be neat.
So
no, it has to be okay. It's got to be either Juan Soto for the sheer upside of what he's done in the league. Like the guy has batted 292, 282. Granted, 2020 he batted 350.
And like Jake said, that was such a short year.
Right, and in 2021 he batted 313. That already puts him as a career batting average of over 300.
Yeah, but his on base is over 400.
Correct. His on base percentage was 406, 401, 490, 465, which is a 432 career.
He's averaging a 432.
Right, which is absolutely ridiculous.
I just want to say Barry Bonds went through like a 7-year stretch where his was over 500 for 7 years.
Barry Bonds is a topic of conversation all to himself.
Yeah. Yes.
And that is a day worth of conversation because that man is arguably the greatest hitter in baseball history, in my opinion. Regardless, take out steroids because he had a virtually a MLB Hall of Fame career before he started taking steroids. The dude was just a machine. One of the most pure baseball hitters I've ever seen. Nonetheless, it has to be Juan Soto, or I understand he's a little older, but you can't go wrong with picking Mike Trout.
Yeah,
I mean, the Angels have tried to build a team around him. They haven't successfully done it, but they're trying. But I mean, he is also a next level world-class ball player to the likes that there's been so few that we've seen. Mike Trout in himself is in conversations for best at positions of all time.
Yeah. No, I mean, can't argue with that. But in a very simple, let's just say a name to make it kind of short with this. But so we talked about current players, but if you had to pick to start a franchise with one player in history, who would you pick? And this doesn't have to be maybe the hometown team or again a current player, but who is maybe one player you would say, I want to start my team with that guy. I'll go first. And again, recency bias on this, but I will say Roberto Clemente. Easy. I mean, you can go down the list, but for me, having almost a 20-year career with it highs in average and gold gloves and all-stars and MVPs, World Series championships, I would just say Roberto Clemente, I would start any team with by far.
Who wants to go next?
Go ahead.
Oh, the answer is Willie Mays. That's the answer. That's all. I'll sit back down. That's why I was going to go there. No, realistically, Willie Mays, I mean, well over 300 career hitter, 600 plus home runs. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm not looking at it, but I'm assuming he had a ton of hits, over 3,000 hits maybe. Stolen bases. Obviously, the defense.
I'm almost positive Willie Mays had over 3,000.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, there was nothing that he couldn't do on a baseball field. Plus, he was he has the most iconic defensive play.
32.93. He has a 156 career WAR.
Oh gosh.
So that's my pick.
660.
I also think Willie Mays is the best baseball player of all time. He's my number.
660 home runs and a career 301.
He's almost the double. 666. Dan did that with John Dowd in the
DAB.
show.
It's DAB.
John Dowd did that in the show on all the time, or MVP.
Dan, who would you go with?
Big shout out to my boy, the 1997 AL Rookie of the Year, Ben Grieve, baby. I love Ben Grieve. Always have. Always.
You realize his whole career lasted in the
6
MVP
weeks.
baseball game, video game series? Like from start to finish, he's done in like this long a time. You fit like 4 video game covers in there. That's it.
Honestly, I don't know that I have a player that I would want to start from. Like I guess, yeah. Mine will probably be Mantle for the sheer fact that he's arguably the best switch hitter ever.
Yeah.
Like
he is. It's. You got to give it to. I got to give it to Mantle. Mantle, best switch hitter ever. 500 plus career home runs, 7-time World Series champion. I think he's got, 1 or 2 MVPs. I think he
was in 61.
He did play in the year 1961.
Yeah,
very accurate. He did play during that year.
I don't even know if he was alive when that movie came
out. Mantle died in 95, so he was not alive when that movie came out because he died of cancer in 1995.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's my favorite player of all time. So I mean, that would be my bias is Mickey Mantle.
Okay, Dallas, who would you say?
Honestly, it kind of sucks Dan said that because I was about to say Mickey Mantle. Also,
you can just add to it. I
mean, it's just because Dan's accredited like his power and his switch hitting capabilities, but he's also. Yeah. He was clocked at like 3 seconds getting down to first from home.
Yeah.
That's pretty outstanding. Like regardless
he was like
of
the first epitome of like a 5-tool player when they really started like
counting tools,
counting the number of like
these tools willy nilly all over the place, and then somebody sat down and organized. We need 5 and only 5.
I mean, he didn't have like an outrageous amount of stolen bases, but
he had all those leg injuries too.
He had so many leg injuries.
Yeah. He was also incredibly fast and defensively.
No, I thought you said incredibly fat. I was like, I think we're thinking of a different guy. I don't think he was fat. I thought he was in good shape. Now I'm second guessing what fat is.
He was the fattest. PH.
Dan, why don't we go to your topic, and we can take our time, but you want to talk about the third base, the third topic we'll talk about. Do you want to intro it?
Yeah. Give me a second to pull up what it even was.
He doesn't even remember what he said.
I don't remember. We've been talking about so many different things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. The NL East. My part of my edition was talking about breaking down the each division by division. Hopefully, being able to cover all of the divisions prior to start of the season, and I just arbitrarily selected the NL East as the starting point. obviously we're coming off of a year where the Braves just won the World Series, top team in the NL East. They have some holes to fill. Freddie Freeman is a free agent. Top first baseman, free agent in baseball right now is Freddie Freeman. Does he go back to Atlanta? And then if he does that immediately make Atlanta the next? Does that immediately move Atlanta to the number one spot?
If they bring back Freeman?
Yeah, if they bring back Freddie Freeman, does that make Atlanta number one?
It depends on when Acuna gets back and how healthy he is when he comes back. If he's 100% rehabbed. Obviously, they had a combination of Jock and Soler and I think me and Eddie Rosario and 40 other people playing left field for them. So they need to figure that part out. Because once Ozuna got suspended, they were able to piece it together. And I don't think their rotation is going to be as solid. Like, I don't know if is Morton coming back? Did he retire?
Who?
Charlie Morton. Oh, he broke his leg, right? But is he coming back?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, so they might need to fill his rotation spot. So it depends on how much money they're willing to spend. On a starter, on a frontline starter. Because if they can secure a frontline starter, then you have to imagine that they would be the favorites in the NL East, and then
right now
favorites to win the NL again.
Yeah. So right now the Braves starting lineup without Freddie Freeman. All right. It looks like you got Albies, Swanson, Duvall, Austin Riley at third, Darno behind the plate, and then your outfield, you got Arcia, Orlando Arcia filling in at first, Heredia in left, and Christian Paki in center. Okay. And you still have some holes on the mountain. You've got obviously Max Fried is going to be your ace.
Yeah.
So far, all the Braves have really done is they signed a backup catcher in Manny Pena. They re-signed Pena and Kirby Yates. So they kind of boosted the bullpen a little. And
he was good 2 years ago.
Yeah, when he was in San Diego, right? Yeah. But I mean, they lost Freeman. Right now, they've lost Eddie Rosario. They lost Soler. They lost Jock Peterson. They lost Drew Smyler. They've lost Chris Martin, and they lost Stephen Voigt. But I think that kind of balances out in Manny Pena.
I mean,
so that's what maybe. I'm saying. I think the Braves need a starter, and then from just remaining the top dog. But you have to like the Mets getting Scherzer and DeGrom. Yeah. So you get those two back to back, right? That's it. Even if because the Mets always find a way to screw up DeGrom starts. Well, they'll get one run or somehow half a run because they're the Mets, right? And it's just ridiculous. So I think if you get him and Scherzer back to back, that's like 2 losses to start your week if you're a team. And then so the Braves are going to be tough. We'll see. But my pick is the Braves. The Mets are going to be tough, but my pick's the Braves. I think the Braves are going to repeat the NL East.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about the Braves is that, but them losing so many different pieces, and I don't think Freddie Freeman's leaving. I think that they have to figure it out. I think they will. So I think he's coming back. So that infield alone is crazy. Yeah. So yes, like starters, and again, the outfield was all makeshift after the trade deadline last year. But I gotta believe that with Acuna coming back, I think they'll get some pieces to surround them. But
they also get Mike Soroka.
True, but
if he could, learn to walk without breaking his legs or whatever.
So you're gonna have Freeman, you have Charlie Morton, you got Ian Anderson, you got Huascar Ynoa, and you got Mike Soroka coming back. I think the bullpen has gotten a little better.
That's a World Series team, dude.
Well, I don't think it's a World Series.
Well, that's a team that got them there.
Well, I mean, yes, but I mean that outfield they put together came up clutch in so many ways.
Sure.
So I would say the Braves. I think it's going to be super tight. I think all the way down to the end of the year. I think the Mets barely squeeze it out.
Oh, you think the Mets are going
to win the Mets division? I think it's the Mets division to lose. Yeah. I think it's the Mets division to lose. I think,
well, by sports nature, isn't it? Wouldn't it be the Braves division to lose since they're the winning division holder?
Yes.
Right, you know what I mean?
And
you
could say that,
you know what I mean?
They just won the division in the World Series.
Yeah.
But I think with the fact that
I think if anything, the Braves obviously have to show they're going to repeat.
I think it's going to be a pretty deep division, and what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that the Mets are and again, this is a huge caveat, but if DeGrom stays healthy, which is big, but if he stays healthy, I think they find a way down the stretch to win out the division. But I don't believe any wild card teams coming out of that because I think the other teams have gotten good enough to beat up on each other, so you're not going to have a 90-win team. So even last year, the Braves only won 88. So I think even next year, if you win 88 in that division with all of them improving, you'll win easy. But I don't think there'll be a wild card. But I do believe the Mets.
No, the wild card's not coming out of the NL East.
Right. So I gotta believe the Mets win by maybe a game and a half. And that's it.
Book it. I'm saying the Braves run away with it. I'm saying Braves win by at least 5 games. Book it.
Wow.
That's bold. That's bold, Cotton.
Yeah.
Book it.
But I think we can all agree that even though they've gotten better, the Marlins will still be in fourth place, and Washington's gonna be fifth. And the top 3 are just kind of, we'll see.
Yep.
I still think the Mets take the division.
By how many?
Make a wild bet. How about we got to do that? How about everybody has to make a crazy bet? Mine's Braves by at least 5.
Because look, okay, so the Mets are projected right now to be an 89 win team and take the division. 89 and 73 is the Mets projection for next year. They've got Nimmo. They signed Starling Marte. They brought in Mark Canha. So, their opening day projected lineup as of now, you're looking at Brandon Nimmo, Marte, Frankie Lindor, Polar Bear, Escobar, Canha, McCann.
Who's Escobar?
Jeff
Eduardo
McNeil.
Escobar?
Yeah.
Eduardo Escobar.
That's not a bad
and
lineup.
Then you still got DeGrom, and they really signed Scherzer.
Yeah.
You've got the 2 best arms in baseball on the same team.
If DeGrom's healthy.
Yeah, that's a big caveat, Jake.
Yeah.
What college did Pete go to?
I forget.
If you're asking, that means he went to Florida. Pete Alonso?
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Let's also talk about the fact that Ben did not go to Florida. So,
hey, I might.
You didn't.
Sure.
Yeah, but I might do my
not yet to this point in your life.
Well, I might do my master's program there. It just depends.
Yeah, so I think the Mets come out, but in the last series, the Mets win by the Mets have a break between first and second place, and they had the division by at most 2 games, so it'll be close.
Jake's
the Mets also
by
have
2 games.
Robbie Cano, who is
mean, he is. Yeah, I saw I saw a video of Cano in the DR hitting home runs like crazy.
Dude, they're not checking for juice in the DR. They call that boy Tropicana down there, bro. He's juiced. My man is.
So okay, you still got guys. They still have Robbie Cano. They have Dominic Smith coming off the bench. Their bullpen still, and the other end of their starters. You still got T1 Walker, Carlos Carrasco, Seth Lugo.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, it's the Mets division.
All right.
We'll see. Are you wrong? But
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And just so anyone who's still listening after all this time, Dell's had to go, but and again, we went super late, so understandably. But I will say this: if it's between the Braves and the Mets right now, the Braves have more holes to fill currently, and they'll have a very short off season, like maybe 2 or 3 weeks to sign players. I don't believe that's enough time to get ready. So in that way, I think the Mets can start hot, and as long as they stay healthy, which again is a big caveat, they can. I think they squeeze it out. But either way, so I mean, we'll see at the end. But
I love the addition of Starling Marte.
I don't know. I mean, as a Cubs fan, I saw him for quite a while in Pittsburgh. He was, productive, but I mean, maybe he figured something out in Miami, in Oakland, but he never was that, that top dollar free agent until this year. So I just doubt his. I don't think he has that much experience thriving. So that's why I'm not sold. I'm not I'm not like dismissing, but I'm not sold yet.
Get back at me at the All-Star break and we'll see.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
he batted 310 last year.
Yeah, that's all right. Jake, go ahead. What are you saying?
No, it's okay. So Starling Marte, I think we can agree that last year was his best year. But I think where we disagree. I mean, he got big money for last year. He's never gotten big money anywhere.
So okay, going down his batting averages alone since he came into the league in 2012. 257, 280, 291, 287, 275, 295, 280, and then in 2021 he batted 310.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got a 270 to 280 hitter his whole career. That's not like superstar numbers.
The one thing I would say is that if he is a difference maker and he's able to do that again, then yes, I believe it's a great signing. But is he going to repeat that? I don't know that for sure. So that's all.
The only way it's worth the money is if he can replicate what he did for Oakland last year. And I don't think he can. I think he if you look at it, more of his seasons are like this as opposed to the one jump, which
he played
seems to
more
be the anomaly of batting 310.
See, he played for Miami and Oakland last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what I meant.
So, that's what I'm saying. So, like, he hit 16 doubles in Oakland, so he played 64 games in Miami. He played 56 games in Oakland. He had 71 hits and 74 hits favoring Oakland. 16 doubles, 11 doubles favoring Oakland. 2 triples, 1 triple favoring Oakland. 7 homers, 5 homers. He had 5 more RBI. He had 22 and 25 stolen bases. He had a total of 47 and 5 caught steals.
Well, sure, if you're going to do that, that's always helpful. But.
So,
like,
if he does that, if he's able to produce somewhere close to that, I would say he's a difference maker and he's worth some money. But that's every other year besides this past year, he's been a good player, but he's not been a worthy player, a player that you want to build your lineup around. So if he's able to do that, for sure, I'm right there with you. But that'll take until the All-Star break, maybe longer to find out.
I agree.
I mean, okay, I agree. My point was like the signing, of Shohei, and I think he's going to be looked as a major factor that helps them win the division next year.
Yeah, and we'll definitely see going down. Last thing we'll do, and just to wrap this up, is we'll talk about. So we did first base with Shohei and Seager. Second base was talking about who would you start franchise with. And then third base was Dan's segment about the division breakdown divisions, and because again, this is going to be the longest episode we'll ever do. But I will say, let's hit home plate and talk about the Chicago focus of Central from Chicago. Let's not go into every team because I think that'd be lengthy. But I would say let's pick one team. Each of us pick one team and make just a brief comment as we're hitting home plate. So I'll start by just talking about the Cubs because they are my long-term favorite team. I'm very well, it says the White Sox fan. So I will say this is that after trading all of their players, Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, all that stuff, I will say the Cubs offseason so far has been confusing because it seems like they're going for it with Marcus Stroman and Yan Gomes being maybe a backup in the gamble of Clint Frazier, but it doesn't make too much sense going forward. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Everyone's talking about Carlos Correa. That's never gonna happen. Trust me, as a Cubs fan, we're never getting some $300 million player, no matter what. What do you guys have?
I'll talk about the Bears, and Dan can talk about hockey or something dumb. Here's my take on the Bears. Right, we don't have a first round pick, right, for next year's draft. So if they're gonna win games, because it's not hurting us not to win games. You know what I mean? It's someone else's pick. It's not our pick. So if they're gonna win. I'm all for it. If that means Foles is gonna get us a win, fine. If that means Dalton's gonna get us a win, fine. If that means Fields gonna win, fine. At this point, Fields does nothing left to prove this season. So putting him out there doesn't really mean anything. Nagy's going to be gone. Pace is hopefully going to be gone. And we're going to have wholesale change. And I was watching, I think it was Ryan Russillo's podcast. He was talking about, how, I mean, it's not like a new thing, but like the turmoil of these young quarterbacks with their coaches being fired and how it, affects their development, having to learn a whole new system next year and doing all that. And he's basically like a rookie again, So it's like we have to, and we end up giving as fans the player more leeway than we do the coaches. So we're going to be quick to fire whoever the next coach is if they're not winning. But we'll give we'll give Fields 4 years of being bad because then we can always pin it on somebody else. You know what I mean? And I just one time as a Bears fan want to get back into the comfort of having like Lovey, where, dude, we fired him after a 10-win season. And then we went to Trestman, and the only good thing about Trestman was he had that one hot daughter. And then that was it for him. John Fox was terrible. And then, of course, where we are now. And it's like he inherited a great defense, but Nagy has not shown that he's been a great coach. He certainly hasn't shown that he's a good play caller. I just think if the Bears are going to restart, but we have to hold Fields accountable if he's bad.
Dan, what's your one take on one team in Chicago?
Well, I'm going to take my White Sox. They phenomenal year last year, projected to win the division, did so. I just don't think they were built for playoffs, and that showed. They won one game again, second year in a row, make it to the first round, and you win one game and get knocked out, man.
40-ounce.
It's frustrating because it seems like they beat up, and it's annoying because they clearly beat up on the teams they're supposed to beat up on and struggled against the teams that they should be more competitive against. And they're not built. They're not built that way, and it's kind of getting annoying. I don't know. I got to really look at the team and analyze a lot more to figure out where the changes need to be made. But it's gotta make going forward. We easily could make some big moves in the offseason here and bring in some bats. I really like Castellanos. I think he could help the Sox out in right field. There's a lot of free agent arms that we could bring in or bring back. I think Carlos Rodon had a good season. I don't think he's going to have a season quite as well as he did last year.
Bring back Mark Burley.
That being said, there are other guys that you could bring in.
This is going to be by far our longest episode. I will say that up front. So if you're still with us, thank you. But also,
thank you.
Don't expect this to be the regular runtime. So what we'll do is we'll just sign off. This is the On a Family Basis podcast, and I'm Jake.
I'm Ben.
I'm Dan.
Oh, there you go.
And Dallas is already off. So yeah, good night, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
Mwah.